Captain Hart. Hit the button. Hit the button. I don't know. I'm doing like these 10-minute reflections after I stop. I don't know why. He said, hit the button. It is important. Find out where you belong. Find your family. All right. Usually, typically, it is your family of birth, but maybe not. My family fractured long ago. Deaths, and I'm estranged from my son right now. That's temporary, so you know I'm all by myself. But God, I got adopted. Find somebody to adopt you. Mark and Barb McGovern adopted me, and we're all the same age. We all graduated from high school right about the same time. But you know, they can tell I'm lonely. I have a family. Good God, their family's amazing. Mark and Barb, they've been married like 33 years, something like that. They never had any kids of their own, but before they got married, Barb had Tiffany with another good guy, and Mark had Jeremy with a good gal. And you know, of course, things don't work out, and so they each had a child. And they said, Mark got smitten with Barb. He's told me he was a no good before he met Barb. I said, wow, kind of romantic, Mark. He was up to no good. He was going down some bad paths, and then he met Barb, and it transformed him. He turned into a hero. He said, oh, I'm gonna show this gal what I'm made of, and he spent the next 30 years proving what he's made of, and proving he's worthy of Barb's affection. It's a beautiful love story. So, anyway, they've adopted me, and we got I'm uncle. Okay, I'm Mark's brother or I'm Barb's brother. I don't know which one, but I'm adopted as a sibling. And Barb tragically lost her brother Mike last year, and so there's no replacing Mike. He was a gunslinger. Mike was cool. God, I got to spend a little time with Mike at Easter and Christmas, I think. He was a gunslinger. God, he marched his own drummer. I love guys like that. He just did his own thing, and you know, he lived down in a kind of a crazy section of downtown Kansas City, and he dealt in auction merchandise. He'd buy stuff, and he was a hustler. I mean, not in a bad way, but you know, he's like, wow, you know, I saw this Jeep at an auction, and they're asking $500. I just saw it online for $4,000. I could buy that Jeep for $500 and flip it for $4,000 tomorrow. He's clever, he's smart, he paid attention to all those little details. So Mike was cool. We lost him. I spent a little time with him. Mike, rest in peace. Your boys are gonna be okay. We're taking good care of your boys. We're going through some stuff, but yeah, we're good. Your boys are okay. So, I got family. You need that. That's a fundamental human question. It really is. And just sit there and not in your head, in your heart. Bow your head. Ask yourself, who do I feel I belong to? And don't just ask that question. Who do I belong to? God, it's fast. I belong to Barb and Mark. God, I belong to Barb and Mark. That's my family. My parents are gone. My brothers are gone. My son and I are estranged. We can't be close right now. I got nobody but Mark and Barb. They adopted me. I belong to them right now. I adore them. I have six nieces and nephews. I have 4 adorable nieces, and I have 2 adorable, wonderful nephews. God dang, I'm an uncle. Uncle David. Sarah, She calls me Uncle David. God, that's flattering. You know how important family is? I never understood that because my family was so fractured. Family. It doesn't have to be your biological, it doesn't. But find an emotional family. See, it doesn't matter. Barb and Mark McEver. I'm not going to change my name because I love Hass. I love Franz Friedrich Hass. Hass. Sorry. He, cleaned out the till, cleaned out the cash register, jumped on a ship. I have his ship manifest, man. They have his. It was a very famous ship, actually. I might talk about that later. I did a little research and I found his name, 1915, in the log. God knows what a ticket cost. He jumped on a ship from. I don't know what port it came out of. I think it was England. Everything left from England. I don't think they do ships out of Denmark. I don't know my geography good enough, but the ship manifest, there's his name. It took, I don't know, 12 or 14 days for that ship to, it wasn't a big ship. It wasn't the Queen Mary or nothing. That's a good story because Granddaddy, he felt bad at what he'd done. And my dad was 10 years old. Granddaddy said, we're going to go back to Denmark. We're going to go back to Copenhagen and talk to my dad and apologize and pay him back for that money. I took out of his register. My dad didn't know it. God, but my dad remembers that trip. My dad remembers being on that ship. And it was the Queen Mary. At least one way. Going over, I can't remember, but my dad was just fascinated when the Queen Mary's parked down in Long Beach forever. It's not down there anymore, but God, my dad was in love with the Queen Mary. He's a 10-year-old. He's on the Queen Mary. He was either going over to Denmark or coming home. He spent 10 or 12 or 14 days on the Queen Mary. So God, my dad was fascinated with boat travel. You can take a plane. I'm talking about my dad was born 27. So he was in 1937. You can't take a plane over to Denmark. The only way to get there was a ship, and Granddaddy felt bad about stealing all that money. I don't know. The story changed. Granddaddy said, "Well, no, I was just making up an entertaining story. I think it did happen, but I don't want my children." He and Mima had 2 daughters, and Frank was the firstborn, and then they had Dorothy and Nancy, my aunts. God, families are fun, especially when they're loose. My biggest want is that families loosen up and get silly with each other. God, who are you closer to than your family? Let's get silly together. Good God, it's not life and death. Who can you better laugh with than your family? I don't laugh more than anything with Mark and Barb and all the nieces and nephews and the God dang Barb's got a sister. And I still can't keep track of Mark and Barb's family structures are complex compared to mine. I mean, I'm like the only child, and I got like 2 cousins, or I don't know. Barb's is like flared out. she's like 2 steps disconnected from anybody on the planet. Even my son's wife. Barb's like 2 steps away from. It's like my son's wife. Ashley's great grandpa is Barb's great grandpa or something. I don't know. It's a very, very small world. So those connections are fun. We need to be connected. I went down for a walk, very nice 55-degree night, and I told you I was homeless for a year. Most of it voluntary. The first month, I got thrown out on my keister in complicated situations. I had 5 minutes to gather up my stuff and get out. But I had fostered a relationship down at the gas station while I'd lived at that address with a homeless guy named Jesse James. I fostered a relationship with him, so I was in shock. I started out on the street with I had my laptop and backpack. That's about all I had. I said, I was in a daze. I went walking around. I went down to the Circle K, and sure enough, Jesse, he's always down there hanging out. That was his little workstation. So I said, Jesse, I'm in bad shape. I need to find out how you do this. How do you do homeless? Oh God, come on, man, let's go. He adopted me, and we went to his camp. It's like half mile down the street or something. Jesse James that's why there's so many homeless in Olathe. It's got a lot of little nooks and crannies for homeless to hide out and make little campsites. I love it. It's fun. I mean, you're not hurting anybody, really. You're probably trespassing on somebody's property, but it's all just kind of empty plots of land with partly forested trees, and there's so many good little hideouts in Olathe. It's just so I spent well. Come to find out, Jesse James is a bit of a hustler. He's doing what they call the buddy hustle. Yeah, I didn't know about that. Now I know. Be careful when you're hard up and you tell somebody you're hard up. Oh God, the opportunists will jump on that. Jesse, oh wow, you know I had a friendship with him. He'd hang out down at Circle K, and he was a dumpster diver. He'd had all this stuff he pulled out of dumpsters. He rode a bicycle, and he had a trailer that he pulled behind that he stored all his treasure in that he found in the dumpsters. And I bought a few tools or something from him over the months that I knew him. So he was a hustler, and I respected that. He didn't steal it. He was jumping into dumpsters and digging and finding useful stuff that people threw away. And I bought a few things from him. So I liked him. And he invited me to move into his tent down at Camp Camp Jesse James. That's not his real name, but you know. So I moved in with Jesse. Oh my God, his campsite was a mess. So that's the first thing I noticed. Good God, Jesse, what a mess you got here. You're a pack rat. You got too much crap. Jesus Christ, what is all this stuff? That's the first thing I noticed, but I kept my mouth shut. You know, he's taking me in. He let me sleep next to me, and then it went fine for a night or two, and then he started bitching at me about my nighttime farts while I was asleep. I said, "I'm sorry, Jess. I can't control my farts while I'm asleep." And he's still mad at me. So I don't know. We had a falling out over the course of. He gave me a taste of the homeless life in the woods. He was kind of in this little wooded section. Oh my God, my imagination started going crazy after about 3 days. Oh my God, I couldn't believe how quiet and secluded his little spot was. And I said, oh God. I started pulling up the satellite map. I said, but there's a bunch of places like this along the railroad tracks in Olathe. And sure enough, good God, I started scouting. I said, I could do this. My imagination caught fire. I said, I could do this homeless thing with style. It could be a big challenge. I said, yeah. I mean, I don't conform. I could have applied myself and gotten back into traditional housing. I know how to contact the resources. I am homeless. I need help. A lot of people are homeless, but a lot of us don't want traditional housing. We want the adventure of being out on the streets. There's a bunch of us out there. We got this wonderful guy in Olathe. He's been homeless I've known him for 5 years. I can say his first name, Troy. God, Troy's fun. He doesn't mind being homeless, and he's. I got a Walgreens down the street. I go down there for my cigarettes and buy my seltzers down there every few days, and then Troy's always in there. He's like Troy just cracks me up. God, I love that boy. Man, he's a man. Troy, no, I won't say his last name, but Troy. His backstory's fascinating. I won't violate his privacy, but I didn't know if I know the people at Walgreens. You know, Vernon and Matt, he's a manager, and Lex, he's a new teller down there. Vernon and me are buddies. We've gone out to eat, and Troy was in there, and I was in there, and I was in a hurry, and then I came back and said, hey, does Troy come in here a lot? And I said, yeah, Troy's cool. I thought, okay, good. I just wanted to come in and make sure you knew that Troy's cool. And oh God, we know he's cool. He comes in here all the time. I said, yeah, that's his hobby. He wanders around Olathe, and he calls it shopping. He said, I'm going shopping. Troy is a professional shopper. When I ran into him at Walgreens, he was examining the cheese balls in the chip aisle, and I chatted him up and said, Troy, what's going on? He said, I'm checking these cheese balls out. And I said, oh, you want to buy some cheese balls? He said, well, I don't know yet. He said, that bag's kind of big. He said, that's like 24 ounces of cheese balls. I need a smaller bag of cheese balls. Okay, let's find a smaller bag. You got any money? He said, I got money. I can buy him some cheese balls. Oh my God, Troy. I love you, Troy. God, Troy's cool. All right, that's a tribute to Troy. I'm gonna leave it there. Troy rocks. I think he had Barb knows. Barb's the founder of the cold weather shelter here in Johnson County. There's no resources for homeless people in Johnson County, and Barb and Mark McEver have founded for the last 7 years a cold weather shelter during the 4 months of December to April when people freeze to death. Project 1020. Look them up. Project1020.org. Very powerful, meaningful organization in an affluent community where people like to pretend that homelessness doesn't exist, but it does. And Barb noticed it, and for the last 7 years, she's busted her butt to do something about the homeless people in Johnson County, and they need help. And she's been doing it for 7 years, full time really. But the shelter where people come so they don't freeze to death overnight is operational from December to April. So project1020.org, project PROGECT 1020.org. Very worthy 501c3 charitable organization. All right, I think I'm going to bed. You guys are the best. Good night.